Good morning, you guys. It's your boy B Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the basketball community, and welcome to all the new subscribers. If you have not subbed to this channel, though, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for all the latest notifications when I go on live. All right, we're about 13 subscribers away from the big 600. So go ahead, share this video, and share it on your platforms and things of that sort. Spread the word about this channel because we drop in basketball knowledge like no other. Okay. Now, I've been kind of thinking about this theory in my mind for the last couple of days here, and revolving around the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Okay. Now, there's a good section of people that want to defend the bad boy Pistons about how they played their style of basketball and how they were able to get away with a lot of the dirty, rough tactics that you can't get away with in today's basketball. You know what I mean? And I ask myself this kind of question though, and I think that there's a lot of my subscribers that would ask this question too. And the question is, would the Bad Boy Pistons still won their championships if they had not played the dirty roughhouse tactics that Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Dennis Rodman, and those guys did back in the late '80s and early '90s? Okay, because you got to remember, before the Pistons became, the rough, tough bad boys they became, they were once a offensive scoring team that averaged about 114 points per game when they first started playing together. This is in the pre bad boy days. You had like guys like Kelly Tripucka that would average at least about 25 points per game. You know what I mean? And basically, Isaiah Thomas was basically putting up huge, offensive scoring nights on it on a consistent basis here. Now let me check out. There you go. So yeah, my point with being in this video is that, you know, my question is, if they decided to continue to play that high pace, high scoring type of offense, you know, would they still win the titles? That answer is no. But when Chuck Daly became the coach, in the 82, 83, in the 83, 84 season, okay, he really did an excellent job of changing the foundation of the bad boy Detroit Pistons from once an offensive high scoring team that used to run them down up at the court to a slow, methodical half court offense that relied on using the shot clock and throwing the ball on the inside and basically using the guards for screen and roll plays or pick and roll plays to try to penetrate and break down the defense. Now, when you look at the Detroit Pistons of what they were when they were successful when they were winning the championships. They were basically a small guard lineup. You had Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, who were basically around 6'1", 6'4". You had Vinnie Johnson, who's vastly underrated as one of the best bench players during his period because when Vinnie Johnson got hot, he could just literally light it up. You know what I mean? And the thing that I always ask myself with this is that if 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 Chuck Daly or his coaching staff or whatever, if they had not gone into the tactics of, playing intimidation, playing that rough house style of basketball, putting the fear in your opponents, would they still won their championships? That's that's a very good question to think about. You know what I mean? I would say the answer would be no. Because the thing is, even though they were a phenomenal defensive team to what they were and holding teams down to at least within 100 points, they would not have the intimidation factor on their opponent, because the thing is, what the Pistons were so good at was that not only that they had an excellent defense that would basically put you in the double team situations and basically challenge you in the back court. When you were driving baseline, you had to be confronted against Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn that was waiting to knock you down flat on your ass. All right. And that's what Brendan Malone admitted in episode 5 of the Last Dance documentary. Anytime Jordan drove baseline, he had to go see Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn, and it did not end well. You know what I mean? And this kind of explains more about why Scottie Pippen still hates the Pistons, even Isaiah Thomas to this day, because they looked at him as a snake and they look at him as a dirty, underhanded tactic player. That's how they saw the man. You know what I mean? And the thing is, as great as that defensive team was, the Detroit Pistons were, the problem that I would see is that if they did not play that rough house, that dirty playground tactics, though, You know what I mean? I don't think that they would have won their championships. I honestly do not, because you had this, the Celtics that were basically still contenders, even though they were still aging. And you know what I mean. And then you had the L.A. Lakers with Magic Johnson that was still at their full strength. You know what I mean. You still had the Atlanta Hawks who were very athletic, leading with Dominique Wilkins and all that. You know what I mean. And then you had some other teams like the Portland Trailblazers that were up and coming with Clyde Drexler. Then you had the Chicago Bulls that were up and coming though too with Michael Jordan. So I think that what they did was they had to play that card to really gain their edge and basically gain a psychological edge against their opponent. If they didn't, no team would have feared them. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So I tend to think that, you know, in my opinion at least, they were great for what they did, you know what I mean? Because you don't see a lot of, intensive defensive pressure for full 48 minutes, and they were great at that. When they were at their peak, when they were at their full strength, they could literally intimidate teams into submission. You know what I mean? And the thing that I always ask myself is that if Magic Johnson and Byron Scott didn't tore their hamstrings in the '89 finals, I think that the Lakers may have had a great chance of probably three-peating. You know what I mean? And I think that you had to give sort of the blame to Pat Riley because he overworked those guys to the bone when they had their 2 week layoff. He should have let his guys relax, chill, let their injuries heal up, to go through light practices and light workouts, and then prepare for the Detroit Pistons. That's what you were supposed to do. But Pat Riley was too intense to a fault, and then as a result, Byron Scott got hurt before the start of the series, and then in Game 2, midway through the third quarter, um, Magic Johnson pulled his hamstring, and he was pretty much done for the series. In at least within 2 games, the Lakers lost both of their starting backcourt, and pretty much it was smooth sailing for the Pistons afterwards. Even though James Worthy was dropping 30 or 40 point games in that series, it wasn't enough because that three-headed monster backcourt of Isaiah, Dumars, and Johnson was just too much to deal with. You know what I mean? And plus, when you had Dennis Rodman basically checking you on the block and the perimeter. I mean, people forget how athletic Dennis Rodman was, and especially when he was with the Detroit Pistons. He could literally guard you straight in the perimeter and face you man to man on the block. You know what I mean? And then also, Rick Mahorn also taught the players like John Sally and Dennis Rodman, like if you're to hit an elbow, hit him on purpose. You know what I mean? Make sure that your opponent knows if you're coming through, hit him hard, but make sure you put some intent to that. So yeah, I think that they had to play that intimidation role to really move themselves up the ladder, but they were still talented enough to really get themselves over the hump. But I don't know if they would have won their championships if they would have played that physical style. That's just my opinion at the matter. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you think that the Detroit Pistons would have still won their championships if they have not played the physical style brand of basketball that's basically was disliked by many in the NBA? Let me know what you guys think.